Liban Waaqoo defended his statement at London ITTI conference. The inevitable for disintegration of Ethiopia, the cause and Abyssinian unbending arrogance. By Liban Waaqoo Filate. Photo, Satube. I was making a research to amass facts about the future collapse of Ethiopian empire. I came across a statement of last military ruler of Democratic Republic of Somalia. I hope quoting a Somali man would more outrage Abyssinians than what I said in London. Abyssinians believe that the people in Ethiopian empire are all breathing on their lung. But they forgot the oppressed are always longing for freedom and their oppression is not eternal. Major General Siad Barre said the following before he went to war with Ethiopia that brought about the crisis we see in Somalia today. Some of the colonizers do understand and quickly retreat, while some, because they are stupid, continue colonizing others, increasing suffering, deaths, injuries, defeat, and humiliation. The people colonized by Abyssinia will be free. Eritrea will be free, and they cannot refuse to let them be free. Western Somalia will be free, and they cannot refuse to grant it freedom. The numerous Oromo will be free because this is history, and no one can prevent the sunshine from reaching us. General Mohammed Siad Barre, President of Democratic Republic of Somalia. I found it necessary to explain what I said at London ITTI conference. It is only the disintegration of Ethiopia that can give the Oromo people to have peace. However, many Ethiopians were outraged by the statement without taking into account the reality on the ground in Ethiopia today, or its appalling, evil colonial practice of oppression against many nations and nationalities in the empire for many years in the past and not in termination as yet. I feel it is very important on the side of Amhara activists to study the nature of the government of Ethiopian empire under Amhara Tigray dominance in the past and present, its failures before jumping on bandwagon of neo-fascist EPRDF propaganda that was meant to lure Amhara into anti-Oromo corner to soften its own burden. I did not say the statement out of lack of civility or unpolished political experience, or as some try to diminish its importance claiming it is tendency of extremism. All that was nonsense, including leaders of ITTI conference who displayed their opportunistic, cowardice position during ESCT interview. Sad enough to remind the listeners of ESCT, the group that was interviewed simply overlooked the existence of closed authoritarian regime in Ethiopia throughout its history, and its oppressive systems are likely to generate considerable resentments over time or existing resentments, especially if the interest of the vast majority of population believed to be 96% are not served. The individuals who were interviewed from ITTI staff would have had the courage to uphold my listeners' position to ovation in favor of my statements. It is sad to find out that there are Oromos who are in the mix in our endeavor for justice, while they are not committed to such a noble cause. It a cowardice character to point finger to the masses no matter what. Secondly, I was outraged by unprofessional standard of EST to interview street boys instead of directly confronting me. What would have been taken into consideration was my addressees at London. I was not talking to Abyssinians either, since I had no business to talk to them or common agenda that stops me from telling Oromo nation truth as it is. I was talking to Oromo people who are under siege and humiliation. When I talk to Oromo people, I do not have to be politically correct or leave them in a state of confusion. They need to know the truth. It is a well-calculated statement to show my Oromo people the remedy of our sufferings. What led me to say this statement in unambiguous language for all to understand is the reality on the ground. The statement I made is what I believe in for freedom to prevail for all, including Amhara. The main reason why my speech also benefit Amhara is I believe injustice against one group is injustice against everyone. Aren't Amhara being ruled with iron fist of EPRDF now? The idea of breaking Ethiopia into many nation states is foundation for liberty, peace, economic progress, rule of law, and cornerstone for regional stability. And for nations to live together side by side separately or in unison based on the free will of each nation is a necessity without cajoling. I strongly believe in dismantled Ethiopian empire, which is the only avenue to freedom for all nations, including Amhara, which is a new colonial territory of Tigray Nation at present. Ethiopia in which the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness does not exist for Oromo, Sidama, Ogaden, Gambella, Gidio, even for Amhara since 1991 and other smaller nationalities must not be allowed to exist. There can be no nation that promotes interest of single ethnic group and can maintain unity while the interest and well-being of many is trampled. Those who shed crocodile's tear for Ethiopian unity must be able to allow each nation to see themselves in what makes all equal citizens of Ethiopia culturally, politically, and access to material well-being of all has to be made at same level, and the opportunity itself must exist. A nation that is always serving the interest of the minority while trampling on the well-being and interest of the majority of its citizens is eventually preparing its own natural death. Those who manifest domination of Amhara Tigray culture and political will must abandon their primordial chauvinistic practice and transform their attitude to political modernity, allowing culture, political desire of others to have space. The past Abyssinian policy of marginalization and impositions of religion, culture, Amhara Tigray culture, and egotistical ravenous economic practices does not make Ethiopia the country of all people. It simply asserts that some section of the population are colonized. Many suffered Abyssinian slave trade and gobber systems, and while others are colonizers. For many years and until now, Ethiopia did not belong to all but few, and currently it has degenerated to lowest possible level, becoming private property or estate of Tigray elites and Tigray people. Thus, those nations that are kept in prison must make every effort to break old Amhara prison walls, and the fence of Tigray neo-fascist concentration camp needs to be removed without leaving its vestiges, and for nations to assert their freedoms. Just let us think. Why everything of Ethiopia is Amhara Tigray? Way of dressing, language, religion, history, and even the Dora, what is Ethiopian more than a Walayita, Oromo, Somali, or Gidio man. Is this not true? Why Kochi, Boina, Bordi, and Atayatu are not Ethiopian, but Mbasha is? Do you know why? Mbasha is food consumed by the colonizers, and Kochi, Bordi, Boina, and Atayatu are of the colonized. No other reason. Which non-Semitic culture is Ethiopian? None. Even Kambalala, as entertaining as it is, has never been referred to as Ethiopian, but remained purely Sidama, as marginalized as the people. The voice of Solomon Wada still call from his grave that colonized people of Walayita must be free. UN Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries clearly indicates that, aware of the increasing conflicts resulting from the denial of or impediments in the way of the freedom of such peoples which constitute a serious threat to world peace. Today, due to such impediments, Ethiopia is going into unforeseen turmoil built through many years of misrule and cruel oppression. It is a natural right of nations to determine their future as they want. It is evident that thousands are daily murdered by Ethiopian state in Amhara, Oromo, Gambella, Ogaden, Sidama, and Gidio regions. As we all know, life is a priceless thing. If once lost, it cannot be retrieved. Thus, such huge sacrifice by the youth, peasants, and intellectuals of the empire is for freedom and just political system that can accommodate all or relieve all from captivities that is centuries old. However, Ethiopia is alien to just political system ever since its inception. And this barrier can only be removed by dismantling the oppressive empire, not by reinvigorating the oppressive colonial machine. What is this prison of nations? I hope I found it very important to go back years and find writings of great scholars of Haile Selassie University, now Addis Ababa University. For all of us to know who the Ethiopians are, and what are the rest, it is good to know what whale line Makonnen wrote 47 years ago, and a question raised by Mr. Ibsa Gautama in his poem, yet awaiting for answer, Ethiopiawaimanoo. The writings of these two great men address the pulse of the people in the empire, and in particular those kept at bay. Whaleline asked, "What are the composition of Ethiopian people?" I stress on the word people because sociologically speaking at this stage, Ethiopia is not really one nation. It is made up of a dozen nationalities with their own language, history, social organization, and territorial entity. And what else is a nation? Is it not made of a people with a particular tongue, particular ways of dressing, particular history, particular social and economic organization? Then may I conclude that in Ethiopia there is the Oromo nation, the Tigray nation, the Amhara nation, the Gurage nation, the Wolomo, Woleda nation, the Adir, Harari nation, and however you do not like, there is Somali nation. This is true picture of Ethiopia. In fact, it is a real picture of Ethiopia in which a few are known across the globe and many are kept in darkness of Abyssinian prison of nations. Whaleline, with his noble character, intelligent, and even mind, has predicted that Ethiopia is heading towards its own demise. He wrote, "There is of course the fake Ethiopian nationalism advanced by the ruling class and unwillingly accepted by non-Amhara, Tigray. Italics added, and even propagated by fellow innocent travelers. I believe it is clear that Ethiopia has never been one nation state. It is a multinational state in which uniquely Amhara Tigray supremacy is maintained in a colonialist mode. The disintegration of Ethiopia is a pain for those who were sucking the blood of the oppressed, and it is a joyful relief to those who were languishing in the stockade of the oppressors. The only option left for the people of the colonies to forge a road towards their own objectives is by walking over the sea of blood and horizon blazed with fire. Their relation between Abyssinians and the people of the colony to whom I referred at my London speech is a colonial relation. Thus, to end colonialism in the world, the disintegration of Ethiopia is a historic necessity, not the wishful thinking of an individual. The decolonization of the oppressed is the United Nations policy clearly reflected in unequivocal term. All people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Colonialism is the policy and practice of a strong power extending its control territorially over a weaker nation or people. Thus, for an Oromo, the survival of Ethiopian empire is meaningless, and those embryonic-minded Oromo elements who are trying to democratizing Ethiopia are simply doing work of infantile. As said in Oromo Voice Against Tyranny in its last page, for Oromo there is no empire to build but one to destroy. Thus, if Abyssinians could not decipher the meaning of the acronym OLEF for the last 43 years and of KWO today, or if they could not understood what it means, for Oromo there is no empire to build but one to destroy, and walk up after so many years by my short statement, it is only the dismantled Ethiopia that can give peace to Oromo, would not surprise me if it creates an uproar. However, it is very important to depart my readers by providing words from a great Palestinian leader, Yasser Arafat. Here it is. Did you follow what General Yehoshaphat Harkabi wrote, formerly of the Israeli Military Intelligence Service? Remember him? Did you follow what he wrote? He said that it was for the sake of the existence of Israel that we have to accept the right of the Palestinians to have their independent state. I hope a word for a wise is a wisdom. Think over what Arafat said. Since the oppressed people lost their dignity by force, it must be retaken by force. No other way to freedom. Every hill, every street, every schoolroom, every workplace must be turned into battlefield, and colonial empire must unconditionally made to disintegrate into nation-states. Freedom for all who are denied right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.